Understanding human behavior involves a complex interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors. In this chapter, we delve into the foundational biological underpinnings that shape our thoughts, emotions, and actions. From the intricate network of neurons firing in our brains to the influence of our genetic makeup, the study of the biological bases of behavior provides critical insights into what makes us uniquely human. Understanding the biological basis of behavior in psychology involves exploring how the brain, nervous system, genetics, and other physiological factors influence our actions, thoughts, and emotions. Here are the main topics typically covered in this area: the nervous system, central nervous system, CNS, structure and function of the brain and spinal cord; peripheral nervous system, PNS, somatic and autonomic divisions, including the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems; neurons and neurotransmitters, neurons, structure, dendrites, axons, synapses, and function; neurotransmitters, types, e.g., dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, their roles in behavior and mental processes, and how they affect mood, cognition, and behavior; action potentials, how neurons communicate through electrical impulses; the brain structures, cerebrum, lobes of the brain, frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, and their functions; limbic system, amygdala, hippocampus, and their roles in emotion and memory; brainstem, medulla, pons, midbrain, and their basic life-sustaining functions; cerebellum, coordination of movement and balance; brain functioning, lateralization of brain function, left versus right hemisphere specialization; genetics and behavior. Genetics, basic principles of genetics, including genes, chromosomes, and DNA; heritability, the role of genetics in behavior and the influence of heredity versus environment, nature versus nurture; gene-environment interactions, how genetic predispositions and environmental factors interact to shape behavior; endocrine system. Hormones, types of hormones, e.g., cortisol, adrenaline, testosterone, estrogen, and their influence on behavior; glands, major glands, pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and their functions; interaction with the nervous system, how the endocrine system and nervous system interact to regulate bodily processes and behavior; brain development and plasticity. Neurodevelopment, stages of brain development from infancy through adulthood; neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt, especially following injury or learning new skills; psychopharmacology, drug effects on the brain, how various substances, e.g., psychoactive drugs, medications, affect brain function and behavior; mechanisms of action, how drugs interact with neurotransmitter systems; sensory and perceptual processes. Sensation, how sensory organs receive stimuli; perception, how the brain interprets sensory information; sensory pathways, pathways from sensory organs to the brain and their processing centers; biological rhythms, circadian rhythms, biological clocks, sleep-wake cycles, and their regulation by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN; sleep, stages of sleep, functions of sleep, and effects of sleep deprivation; emotions and the brain. Neurobiology of emotions, brain regions involved in emotional processing, e.g., amygdala, prefrontal cortex; emotional regulation, how the brain controls and manages emotions; stress and the brain. Physiological response to stress, the role of the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal, HPA, axis; impact of chronic stress, effects of prolonged stress on brain function and health; methods in biopsychology. Neuroimaging techniques, fMRI, PET, EEG, and other methods for studying brain structure and function; lesion studies, research involving damage to specific brain areas to study their functions; electrophysiology, techniques for measuring electrical activity in the brain. These topics collectively provide a comprehensive understanding of how biological factors influence behavior, allowing psychologists to integrate biological perspectives with other psychological theories to better understand human behavior.